Retractors, which is called ADduction. So we're going to give you an exercise for that as well. ADduction away from the midline of your body, thus your protractors. So the first one we're going to start with is retractors. Remember we talked about what's one condition that you can use this to treat a lot of times?
Being skeptical?
That's the opposite one. Okay. So remember, a lot of times people there's a theory that we're all born in the fetal position, right? And then we stand up and then gravity tries to pull us back there for the rest of our lives. Have you ever seen old people that are like this? Happens all the time, right? Gravity won. Don't let gravity win. And these are good muscles, these retractors, to make sure gravity doesn't win, right? So we stay tall and have really good posture. And so if people have lumbar disc herniations in their low back and they're older people, a lot of times they walk around like this. And so if I'm like this, what does my low back look like? Hypolordosis, which means posterior herniation, right? If I can do this, now my back's back to neutral again, and that can avoid that from happening. So a lot of times this can help with low back problems. If they're always in that hunched over posture, really work on the retractors of the scapula to get them walking a little taller. So the main retractors of your scapula are the muscles that run between the medial border of your scapula and your spine. So what muscles run between the medial border of your scapula and your spine? Mainly rhomboids and the middle part of your trapezius. So if you pull the card that says scapular, shoulder girdle retractors or ADductors, you're going to tell me the main muscles are the rhomboids and the middle trapezius muscles. Those are the ones that we're training in this exercise. Then you'll have your partner come up and you'll lie them down face first on the mat. Face down, I guess we call it. Face first. Okay. Then what you're going to tell them is you're going to, first thing, this isn't something that's really that important, but make sure their feet are dorsiflex, right? We don't like dancer/gymnast foot, because that is going to put us in a plantar flex position, and that means we're going to cause a whole bunch of problems from that. So you're going to make them get into a Y position, which means their hands are up and they kind of look like a Y. Okay, so this position right here, this is your Y position that you're going to start in. Okay? First thing you want to have them do is to take their hands and put them in the Fonzie position. You know who Fonzie is? Hey, right, good. He goes, hey. And as you do, you always do this, right? So you want to externally rotate your shoulders as much as possible and get in the Fonzie position. You can go, hey, if you want. Okay? So externally rotate your shoulders as much as possible and get those thumbs pointed out. The reason you want to do that, I will explain on Tuesday. Okay, we're going to talk more about why. So remember, there has to be synergy between what the scapula does and what the glenohumeral joint does. And so we're going to talk about that on Tuesday. But the external rotator of the glenohumeral joint generally work together with those retractors. So if we get that thumb externally rotated, the shoulder externally rotated, that will help pre-activate the muscles we're looking for. Next thing you want to do is you really want to make sure, getting tired there? Yeah. Okay. You really want to make sure that the upper part of the trapezius is relaxed. Because a lot of times what you'll have people do if you do this exercise is you'll say, pull your shoulder blades together, and say, okay. And they go into scapular, what do we call that? Elevation, right? And that's a bad pattern. That puts our shoulder in an awful position that can cause a whole bunch of bad things to happen. So what you want to do when you get in an externally rotated position is you want to feel those upper traps and make sure you feel like they're mushy. They shouldn't be rock hard. Then what you're going to do is you're going to tell them to squeeze their glute and make sure that no motion happens from the lumbar spine. If people have weak retractors, a lot of times they'll try to help themselves by going into hyperlordosis and kind of arching their back. So squeeze the glute to make sure there's no motion through the lumbar spine. Make sure the upper traps are relaxed. And then all you're going to tell them to do is squeeze the muscles, and generally pointing at them is good. So you point at the muscles between the scapula and the spine, and you say, I want to squeeze those muscles, pull your shoulder blades together, and lift your arms about 1 inch off the ground, and hold. And here you want to check upper traps as well. He's got a lot of upper traps. No, keep your hands up, but try to relax. Okay, so we got some work to do with him. He's got a lot of upper trap activity, and that might be something we need to work on. But once he gets that, so you want to just raise your hands about 1 inch off the ground, and if you raise them more than 1 inch, you're using your glenohumeral joint, right? If you want to use the glenohumeral joint, it's all just scapular retraction. So by retracting my scapula, I should be able to lift my hands about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off the ground. Okay, so externally rotate, squeeze the glutes, prevent any motion through the lumbar spine, make sure upper traps are relaxed, pull those scapulas together, lift your hands about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off the ground, and hold. And relax. Good. Move that mat a little further away. Next thing you want to do is get into a T position. T position. So once you're in the T position, dorsiflex the feet. You're in the T position, externally rotate, Fonzie position. Good. Make sure upper traps are relaxed, glutes are squeezed. The glutes are squeezed to make sure no motion happens through the lumbar spine. Upper traps are relaxed to make sure we don't go into scapular elevation. Once we're in the Fonzie position, we're going to pull those shoulder blades together. Lift your hands off the ground about an inch, inch and a half. Hold for a couple seconds. They shake, it's a good thing. And relax. Good. Then you go into the W. W, now the elbows are into your side. Finger over right into your side. Externally rotate, Fonzie position. Upper traps are relaxed. Glutes are squeezed so nothing happens through the lumbar spine. And now what we want to do when we pull the shoulder blades together is lift our whole forearm off the ground about an inch, inch and a half. Good. Squeeze those things together. And it's really good sometimes to kind of make sure, I want you to squeeze right here, squeeze these muscles so they kind of can feel, if you touch them, that sometimes will cue the body, oh, that's where I want to squeeze and pull them together. Okay? And you want to feel those upper traps all the time, make sure upper traps are relaxed. Good, thank you. Any questions with that one? So we'll review it really quickly. If you choose the shoulder girdle, retractors, or ADductors, you're going to tell me it's the rhomboids in the middle part of the trapezius muscle. Now lie them down on their face or on their stomach and get their arms in a wide position. I like the feet dorsiflexed as well. Once they're in the wide position, tell them to externally rotate as much as possible to get in that Fonzie position. Once they're in the Fonzie position, you're going to feel their upper traps and make sure they're relaxed. You're going to tell them to squeeze their glute to make sure no motion happens through the lumbar spine. Upper traps need to be relaxed to prevent scapular elevation. Once that happens, you're going to tell them to squeeze the muscles between the shoulder blade and the spine and pull the scapula closer together and lift your arms about an inch off the ground. Hold for 5 or 6 seconds, let's say. And then relax, and you're going to go into a T and do the same thing. Squeeze the glutes so there's no motion through the lumbar spine, upper trap is relaxed, we're not going into scapular elevation. Externally rotate, pull the scapula together, lift off the ground for about an inch, inch and a half, hold for 5 or 6 seconds. Relax down. W, same thing. Glutes are squeezed, no motion through the lumbar spine, upper trap relaxed, no scapular elevation. Externally rotate. You want to pull the scapula together and lift your forearms off the ground about an inch, inch and a half, hold for 5 or 6 seconds, and relax. And to me, that's 1 rep. You go YTW, that's 1 rep. YTW, 2 reps. YTW, 3 reps. So you go through and do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 reps, whatever you think you need. Okay, any questions with that? I feel like I'm like the paparazzi here getting followed up.